have one more thing I want to ask because it is important. And what?
I just said one more thing there.
No, no, it's important. I'll tell you, it's the new thing, and I've been asking on every pod, but I need to hear your take as well. Psychedelics and ayahuasca. It is the craze, right? Right now, I want to hear what your opinion. There are a lot of people talking about it, but we had Trisha Tia on. She was definitely pro, let's say, psychedelics. I know you know Trish.
Yeah.
You've told me in previous conversations you have a lot of respect for her as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to hear what your opinion is on the whole
Okay.
Opinion and or experiences with
the movement.
Okay, so this is here what I'll say. First of all, for people encountering or with a history of like above moderate substance use, I'm like very opposed to going into that, foraying into that. I think it's a very big mistake. I think it's a huge mistake. And because of what I'm about to say, I don't know what's going to happen with psychedelics. Like the Jewish world in particular and the world in general loves fads, right? Like every mental health fads are very common. I've been around in the mental health field for 25 years and there's like constantly the thing that everyone's into, right? And right now everyone's very excited about psychedelics and ayahuasca's been around for centuries. So it's like, you know, a millennia. So like it's not a new thing, but like it's the new thing that everyone's getting excited about. And
with good reason.
There's a lot of good evidence that describes that perhaps the properties in ayahuasca could be utilized in a therapeutic form.
Mm-hmm.
And many utilizations of therapeutic things can also be used to treat pathology. But it's very important to realize a drug like ayahuasca can be used recreationally for experience. It can be used therapeutically, like it's nice and it feels good. It helps a person get better. And then it can be used medicinally to really heal somebody who's getting well. The use of those things medicinally is extremely, extremely experimental. And people are running around and giving a lot of like really like unevidence-based opinions and encouraging people that have a long life history of mental illness, that have a long history of addiction, have a long history of trauma. Come try this thing, you're gonna feel amazing. And then 3 months later, that same person, right, says, come try this, it's amazing. But the reality is when you've watched someone heal from a mental illness or from a trauma, what happens is they do something that works and they feel really good for 3 or 4 months. And then the reality of life starts to set in, right? And then it gets bad. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes they have regressions, sometimes they have relapses if there's an addiction, and then things can spiral, and oftentimes they can be resilient, and then as they're resilient through that lull, they can kind of grow, and the growth that they did in the first period of time starts to take shape, and it starts to be really incorporated and true. Like everyone's getting really excited about ayahuasca, but like if someone asked me like, should I try ayahuasca? I would say like, if you have a risk, you shouldn't. Why would you do that? Like let other people play around with it. It's not legal in the United States. They can't test it. They can't measure it. They can't research it. Why would I sign up to be some shaman's like test subject?
Because it's been used for thousands of years for healing.
It's been used for thousands of years therapeutically, right? But we have no proof that it works clinically. We have no real proof that it works clinically.
I'm not sure I understand what the difference is.
There's a
Therapeutically,
distinction.
it just means for healing, for people use to get clarity
the word
in themselves.
healing is very, okay, exactly. Someone getting clarity is very enriching and it's very positive. It's very wonderful.
Yeah.
But people that have encountered like abrasive trauma, there's deep bruising inside of them, in their brain. I mean, they can measure those things, right? They're also apt to fall into deep patterns of mental health crisis, including mania and depression and overt PTSD, which is an anxiety-based reaction. They can end up in psych wards. So you have people going around encouraging every person to go take ayahuasca without the thought that person might relapse and die, right? They might relapse and die. The use of the ayahuasca for a heroin addict might trigger after a long lull. Like recently, I'll just parenthetically, like there was a case where there was a guy had a history of heroin addiction and he was really struggling with a mood disorder. He has a mood disorder and he goes through patterns of depression. He has a real mood disorder. He experienced trauma in his childhood. And one of the premises was, well, maybe we should try ayahuasca, right? And I was asked about that. And the response was, I hear that there could be a positive result, but there also could be a horrible result. And it could trigger the desire for heroin, which he hasn't had for 10 years. And even if there's a small risk that it could trigger the desire for heroin, and then he uses heroin again, and then he destroys his life, is not worth the payoff that ayahuasca might come.
Yeah.
So the fact that there are people that maybe at a more moderate baseline of mental health who are experimenting with ayahuasca, and God willing, if people want to advocate to legalize ayahuasca and to use it in a
And so that we
in a
can
more,
get data.
we can get real data, and then we want to use it on the most vulnerable population in 10 years from now, I'm in. Let's do it. Let's figure it out. But like now's not the time, and none of these people are engaging in it that way. It's all kind of very rudimentary, and it's all like, and what they're doing is they're promising it to people that are living in suffering, and not all. Some of them have chronic
it's like a wanna feel good
mood
now
disorders. Like they have real chronic mood disorders. They're always going to struggle with depression. There are people that are naturally depressive. They also experience trauma, and there are some people that have what looks like a chronic mood disorder because of their trauma. Both of those things exist.
And we don't think, but you, that sounded, there are people that are just going to be depressed. They're going to have that mood disorder and
There
there's
are
no
people
cure.
that have a certain disposition towards depressive moods, and some of it's very, very pervasive.
Right. So pervasive, in fact, that like it sounds like you're saying therapy hasn't been working. It helps, but it hasn't, but it only helps, but there's no cure. So everything's just management.
Right, but ayahuasca is
Everything's-
not a cure.
No one who is worth one penny as a psychedelics person that I've talked to, no one is saying it is a cure. If you hear anyone say any psychedelic is a cure, then that isn't it.
They
Then
might
that
not
is
say
then that's
the word
not
cure, but they
they're-
talk about it as
it's
if
a tool, just like anything else is a tool.
That's not the way people talk about it. I agree with you. It's a tool.
Then we're listening to different people.
Yes.
No, I've heard it. I've
could
heard
be.
people thinking it's like a cure.
No,
like, take
I
ayahuasca and like your trauma will like you'll have such clarity that like
Yeah, I used
you're
to
not
live-
gonna have trauma.
I believe you 100%. I'm just
I have no
the
problem with
intelligent people
tools.
in that space only talk
No
about
problem.
this is a tool, and if you think that it's going to cure you, you're out of your mind.
agree
It
100%.
helps you to, because for some people it does shake something loose that therapy wasn't.
And if somebody makes the objective choice to do that experimentally, and they do that with thought, and I've had clients who have utilized psychedelics and utilized psychedelic experiences very effectively. Usually, it's out of a baseline of stability and an awareness what they're working on, what they want to gain insight into,
Right.
with a plan for comprehensive follow-up. The research also seems to indicate that taking ayahuasca more than 3 times is not really effective.
Right.
Right. So
Diminishing gains.
but a lot of people, right? There's diminishing gains, and then like it seems like there's a retroactively diminishing gain, like whatever gain you got in the first place as you continue to use
Really?
it, right? So we don't know. So, but then you have people that are ayahuasca proponents. I'm not talking about the people that are reasonable.
No,
all for
right.
that.
You're talking about the people who they get
Who are like-
stars in their eyes. They're like,
There are definitely a lot of people that use it as a feel good drug. It's like
I mean,
I'm
I've
in
met
a-
people
I'm in a
that
lot
are
of
using
pain.
it as a therapeutic drug, and they tell me they've done 30 ayahuasca
Yes,
sessions.
yes, yes.
Right? That's not at all indicated.
Yeah, it's
It's not indicated. It's not appropriate. So I agree with you. But those people are very loud and very noisy and being very, very irresponsible because they're talking to people. And this is from my angle. You're asking me. My angle is I watch people that are like the most vulnerable, and they're getting this promise of how they're going to feel. And then sometimes they take ayahuasca and they feel amazing, or they take
for a little bit.
right? And they feel amazing, and then they feel worse. And the worst thing you can do for somebody with a chronic mood disorder like depression, like chronic treatment-resistant depression, is help them to feel amazing for
For a too short of
for
time.
2 weeks.
It's a disaster.
Because
Yeah.
there's nothing more depressing
That
than
down.
when that
Then that
depression
comes.
comes
Oh,
back.
wow. Yeah.
So what have you accomplished? You made them feel good for 2 weeks, but you didn't give them any skills. You didn't prepare them for the ayahuasca experience.
So I'm not getting an anti-psychedelic vibe from you at all. What I'm getting is you just like, we don't have enough time. We don't have data on this yet. And people need to be way more sober about how they're approaching it.
Yes.
And we need to get way more data, and you need to go into it with a plan and with therapists and with a professional who's gonna.
Yes.
It's
And
just
the people
it's
that I
too
know-
wild right now. It's too.
People that I know that have utilized ayahuasca that way have had
the Wild
very
West.
very positive results. They knew why they were going in. They wanted to look at a particular area,
Yeah.
particular area.
I
of
think I've been
trauma.
blessed that the people who got me into psychedelics are so reasonable about it. And like I've not done ayahuasca. It does scare me,
Right.
but I've done psilocybin, and like
Yeah.
I did a lot. I did it with someone like it was so like. You knew exactly how much you were taking. You went with intentions. There was a lot of
are we
questions
talking
asked
with
about what
some-
what
that's all-
medications you're on. We were talking about, what's your history of Like there
I wouldn't
are
say I'm a
people.
proponent of that, but I definitely would say I can understand why someone would go in that direction, and I respect. Like Trish is really like trying to invest herself in understanding it.
Yeah, she's
like,
studying it.
inside. She's studying it.
Yeah.
Trish is like I'm very close with Trish, right?
Yeah,
And I really
yeah.
admire her and respect her, and I respect that she's going down that path, and I respect the people that are doing that. All the respect in the world. I said a few minutes ago, I've recovered from his nagdas. I don't have to be against something in order to not be a proponent of it, right? I'm not against it. What I am against are irresponsible a-holes that are really hurting people by selling them something that they're really making money on. They're selling false hope to people that are really suffering the sense that they're just gonna like their trauma is gonna be gone. The truth is, even I've had trauma in my life, and I don't know if anyone around this table has had trauma.
Nope.
I've never had zero.
My experience of trauma is that you do trauma work, and then things tend to get very well, and then you come to a moment in your life, and then suddenly out of nowhere, you like revert back into the trauma.
Yes.
Usually it happens at good moments, and then you have to like reprocess it. But when you come out the next time, there's like a new sense of insight and like a greater sense of healing. And then again and again, most of the very overt traumas that I've processed, I've had to go through about 3 to 4 cycles of working them through, right? And I don't have the kind of chronic mental illness that other people have, that when they go through those cycles, it means they're going to end up in the psych ward. But I work with those people, and they're doing the same thing that I'm doing. Their trauma gets triggered, and they end up in a spiral. And let's throw ayahuasca at it. Like, what? You're ridiculous. What are you talking about? You're a joke. You're not real. The people that are serious about ayahuasca are telling you that doesn't work. But no, we're gonna just like get on podcasts.
So
and
what
just
would
talk
be
about it.
the people who are serious? They're using ayahuasca as what, a tool to. I know. It sounds like the serious people only try it once or twice, like in a person in a lifetime, right?
Serious people are utilizing tools.
What would be the purpose if it only lasts for so long? Like what? Yeah.
I haven't done ayahuasca. I've spoken to some mental health professionals who have tried it themselves for that to really to investigate, and I've spoken to some clients that have done it, and the people that have done it well recognize it as a tool that helps gain insight, because insight, the brain, when we are trying to do work to heal trauma, what we're healing is our brain, and our brain is a thinking machine. So in gaining insight and shifting perspective changes the way I think, which changes and allows the brain to kind of heal itself, right? Like when I cut myself, my body starts to heal itself, right? Trauma is where the brain is bruised and it's not healing properly. How do I heal my brain, right? So ayahuasca is a substance, and the way that it interacts with the brain when it's done properly might promote healing, right? And by the way, it can be therapeutic. Going back to what I said before, this is a huge thing.
What's the difference between medicinal and therapeutic? You said that.
Okay, so
earlier.
this is a huge principle. This gets into like even people who utilize religious practices, right, and associate them as therapy.
Yeah.
Right. There are things that are enriching and healing, right? They're positive for my life, right? But they're not medicine, right? What's an example of that, right? I can meditate, right? I meditate on a daily basis. I'm a big believer in meditation. I utilize breath and thought, and it helps me to feel. I wake up and I have like some probably layers of dysthymia, which is kind of like a chronic depressive downness. I kind of wake up in dark spaces on a regular basis. One of the things I've done to kind of help work through that is I meditate on a daily basis. I have 2 meditation practices I do in the morning, very quick. It's extremely therapeutic for me. It doesn't get rid of that thing. I've accepted that that's there. I spent a lot of time trying to get rid of it. I accepted like this is my nature. I wake up in dark places. I don't feel bad at night. Some people feel bad at night before they go to bed. I hit the pillow, I go to sleep, I wake up in the morning, and I'm like, everything wrong I did yesterday is like flooded in my brain, and I have to learn how to process that. Okay, that's therapeutic, right? There are other things that can be treated. They can be actively treated. There are like psychological methodologies that can be utilized to really, like breath work is a very powerful psychological tool where it's like these intense breath that is similar to meditation, but taken to an extreme.
That's medicine? Breathwork is more medicine?
It can be medicinal. Breath work can be deeply medicinal, right? Now, it's not just going to work. You can't take somebody who hasn't gained insight and done other therapeutic work and they can't use that medicine. It's not medicine that's just going to solve things. Like everyone should just go run to the desert and do breath work and it's going to solve everything.
The thoughts you have on ayahuasca, I've been seeing a lot of breath work has also been very in vogue recently. And I'm always like, everyone I talk to is like, I felt amazing. And it's like 3 weeks later, like your life's a shit show. Like, like you felt, no, it's literally like getting drunk. Like I felt euphoric. Like I forgave myself. Did you? Cause like, but so many people are. These breathwork sessions are like $80 a pop.
Right.
And these guys are coming in. They're not mental health professionals. They took a course in Nevada one time to like get their certification, and they have a man bun, and now they think I can give a breathwork.
Right.
It's like, what
They're
are you
good
doing?
entrepreneurs. If
They're,
they have it.
they're entrepreneurs. They're not mental health.
Right.
It's such a.
And breathwork in the right hands, that tool can literally be medicinal. And I believe that it's probably true that in the right hands, in the right environment, that ayahuasca can be medicinal for certain people. But for most people, it's therapeutic, and for some people, it's like interesting.
And the idea of selling
Okay.
it to the masses is
Not
It's
that
an
therapeutic's
automatic
bad.
medicinal
Therapeutic's
thing.
good
Therapeutic's
if you're being
amazing.
responsible
Right.
about it.
And if you're
Therapeutic's good.
thoughtful about it, it's also very risky. I'm saying you're messing with your brain. It's like a deep,
Yeah.
it's a psychedelic
Life is
drug,
risky though.
right? Well, it's very different though. Ayahuasca is
on
very
this.
different than, let's say, psilocybin.
Oh, is
or
it?
the use of MDMA.
Yeah.
Meaning the way that they're using it therapeutically, right? Because like you said, like when you're using psilocybin therapeutically, it's very small amounts, very measured, according
Not
to a
that
specific.
small. I mean, it was
But it's not like taking tons of mushrooms. It's a different experience.
no,
right?
but there's
There's
a
there's
aspect
protocol.
of taking a lot, but yeah, like a specific amount of a lot, but it's a lot.
But there's a protocol to the process.
There's a protocol to the
measure
process.
to the process.
Yes.
And there's a reason why you're taking more or less, and
Yes.
it's thoughtful. And there's a reason that you're trying to get through. I'm all for that. Great. I mean, I'm a risk averse person by nature, so I don't like doing risky
Most Jews are.
things, right? It's like,
we're all neurotic.
Yeah, exactly. We're all of our mom's voices in the head. You're doing what with who?
It's a
Where?
Cleveland-
Where are
it's a
you?
Cleveland- It's a Cleveland thing. My
That's a
mom.
Cleveland-
nothing.
Your mom's not risk
She had
averse?
10 kids, bro. We were. Okay, there was no.
Give it up for Cleveland.